All this time, you're right, Raghuram. All this time you were knowing that how to create an object of, the other day he was not here. So employee, if I have to create emp is equal to new employee. This is the way of normal creating the Java object. It will create emp as the object. This is the normal Java way. But what my Spring framework says now is, no, I will not allow this and I will help you to create the object. How it is giving us the object? By using an XML file. Okay, this is one way. There are two ways. Okay, one way is use the XML file or use the annotations. This is a very basic stuff. So if you understand this concept, then things will be like repetitively XML annotation, XML annotation. So that is the reason I want you to people understand these two concepts. Okay, so XML is nothing but it is a configuration file. Configuration file. Same we call it as Spring configuration. Spring configuration. We call it as Spring configuration. Annotations, if you remember, at override. They always start with at. They start with the symbol at. And for example, if you can recollect, at override is one of the annotation. And here as part of Spring framework, you will be learning at bean. Whenever bean comes into picture, it is nothing but creating the object, creates object. That is a tag. Then again, we have at component also, at component. Okay, this also is the same purpose for creating the object. But then you might ask me, what is the difference? See, both of them are creating the object. So this is used for methods. Okay. And this has to be used for classes, on top of classes. And there will be a, if you are using annotations, we need to again provide the configuration. So there is one annotation called as configuration, which will create my configuration. So at configuration, this is another configuration. And yes, these are the three. These are few of the annotations that are used as part of Spring framework. So now on, remember that we will not be using this kind of creation of using the new object. Of course, we can use this, but Spring framework says that we will using this, the code will become tightly coupled. That means one object is dependent on another object is dependent on another object. It becomes tightly coupled. So that is the reason they say that this will make the things more difficult for maintenance. It will not allow us for further functionalities. So let's not use this part. What we will do is either use an XML way of doing the things or use the annotation way of doing the things. And both these things I demoed the other day. What I did was, let me close the rest of the things. So what I did was I created a project. Again, creation of the project, Spring project is two ways. Okay. I will just explain that first. Spring project, if you remember, Nikhil, do you remember what are the two ways of creating the Spring project? Spring project creation.
Maven.
As can be done in two ways.
Chart
First,
and Maven.
yes, by adding the jar files, adding external jars. Jars are nothing but they hold the classes. They are holding multiple classes. Contains classes for Spring framework. This can be done either by adding the jar files, by creating a Java project, normal project, or by using a Maven project. I think I did not demo the Maven part, right?
Yeah.
So Maven part I will show you today. Most of the time we will be using this Maven part. This is like flexible way of doing the things. Otherwise everything you have to do manually if you go by this method. Okay? So let's prefer the Maven way of doing the things. So in Maven project is nothing but it helps us for adding dependencies. Okay. So there we will, it will help us, it helps to add dependencies of any project you can add, not only Spring Framework. There are multiple things that we can do with Maven project. So it helps us to add the dependencies. So whatever classes the jar file contains, right, it can be added just by adding some few lines of code in an XML file. So this XML is called as pom.xml. Pom.xml contains all our dependencies. So these are the two steps and everything will be the normal way of how we create the classes for Spring project. So let's go ahead and understand a little bit more on Maven project here. Before this, I will take into the Maven things. Light off, extra. Okay, so here let me show you some Maven tutorial. I hope my screen is visible. Yes, no, please. Is my screen visible? Okay, so fine. Okay, so here we have to understand what is this pom.xml or pom and how we can add the dependencies. So let me show you. Maven is nothing but it is a powerful project management tool and it is based completely on POM, that is project object model, and it is an XML file. Okay, so it is basically used for projects. We can build entire project, like as in everybody, one team member will be working on one thing, another team member will be working on another thing. So in a team multiple people will be working on multiple things, so together we call it as a build. Okay, together we'll make a product, then that product will call it as a build. Then we can add different dependencies. So for example, today I'm working on Spring Framework, tomorrow I may use some other framework, then that dependency has to be added in order to enable that dependency. So we have to use that, we can use the dependencies using the Maven project. Then documentation is very good written in Maven project. We can also use the documentation part of Maven. It is easy to migrate. Okay, we can easily migrate for the new features of the Maven. It becomes very easy when on developing the project. So this is one of the good features of Maven. So what is build tool? It is nothing but it generates the source code, it generates the documentation, it compiles the code. If some team member has done something wrong, then it will not be successful. Build will fail. Then package is compiled into jar or zip file. Okay, we can create a jar file. That means all classes together will be zipped, and that particular thing we call it as jar, Java archive. And then installs the package code in the local repositories. We can do some installation, we can do some testing on the entirely build all together product. Basically understand the build as a product output. And then one of the important thing is Maven repository. So do you know what is the meaning of repository? What is a repository? Repository. Any idea? So repository, you can think of a database. Or a repository is a storage place where you can store something, and database we store some data, right? Student database, you can store some table, you can store some data in that. But in a repository, we store a particular code. Okay, so for example, I have a I want to create a repository for my trainings. So in that case, I can create a Maven repository and it will have all my code related to my trainings. Okay, so such a thing is present in Maven. Repository is nothing but where you can store something. You can think of a database, you can think of a storage area. So one of the good features of Maven is it is a big repository. It is itself is a big repository, and in that repository it will search whatever dependencies we want. Supposing I want to search some Spring related stuff, then we can always search for those dependencies in the repository. So we have three types of repositories in this Maven: local repository, central repository, remote repository. Local means whatever is present on our system, it will use that. Central means it will be kept in a central place and it will be using that. A remote repository means it will be somewhere else and it will use those dependencies. So basically understands for dependencies we use the Maven repository. So this pom.xml is very important. I will show this pom.xml here. Let me show with this. I mean here. See, Maven Spring project I would have created. I will show here. Once I create, I will do everything step by step. So Maven, whenever you create a project using this Maven object or Maven type, then it will give an XML file here called as pom.xml. And this XML has this kind of a structure, okay, where it has this tag called as dependencies. Okay, under this dependency, see, one is the opening tag and the closing tag will begin with slash. This is the closing tag of dependencies. So these dependencies, it will have multiple dependencies. So for example, I want to have Spring Core dependency. Then this is the first dependency. Again, I want Spring Context. Then use this. Then this is the another clib dependency. Okay, these are the dependencies that you can add. So where to find these dependencies is the next question. Okay, we will come to that question. Hold on. So before that, we will understand what is this pom.xml. So POM is nothing but project object model, and it contains the information of our project, configuration for it, and if there are any dependencies, just now I told, directory, source directory, where it has to store, what it has to store, all that information can be added in pom.xml. But for us, what matters is this part. Dependencies is what we will handle. So Maven reads the pom.xml file, then it executes all the things. So I will show you here before I go to this slide. So now let me create a particular file here. Are you following? Raghuram, Nikhil? Maven? Okay. So let me create a Maven project here. Go to File, New. Then if I go to Other here, and if I type here Maven, for the first time nothing will be visible. Maven project. It is under the Maven folder. Maven project is there. And I click Next. Okay, I can create a simple project or I can create some complex project, like as in some dependencies will be here. It will list out all different types of project here also. I can use either of the options, but let me create a simple project as of now. So simple project. So here simple archetype means it's a template you can just choose. You can use a particular template for that. So it will have some standard templates. We can always use those standard templates. Okay. So I will choose the simple project. I will click next. And here group ID, artifact ID, version, packaging, all that we can specify. Some mandatory things I will specify, no need to worry about all the things. So artifact is what is a project name. So group ID refers to the package name. So I will give the name as com.mypack. Okay, it will be the package name. And then artifact ID is nothing but it is the project name. So for example, my project name is my um, Maven project. Okay, Maven Spring project. I'll do it just to be particular. I will give this project name. It will create the project like this. Okay, with this particular name. I can choose a version. Always a snapshot means work is still in progress. Otherwise, you can go on. See, in generally version means what? Every software will have one or the other version. Small developments, point we use. If it is a major release, then we use 1.1. You can change this particular field. Then packaging means at the end what you want it to be created like. You can use jar file, war file or pom file. You'll keep it as it is, no need to worry. You can give a description if you want a particular name. You can create all those things. Parent project you can use. All this we can do it. I'll click on finish. It is creating the project. See at the bottom of my screen. Maven project is getting created. So here is the Maven project which I had given. 99%. Let's wait. Yeah, it's done. So it has given me this kind of a structure. So let me explain each of these. What are these? I hope my screen is visible clearly. So first of all, there is src main Java. Always src main Java, wherever you find, it holds our Java code. Okay, Java code will be there inside this classes and all that, whatever we create. SRC resources like extra images you want to use in your project or extra files you want to use. Those can be kept in SRC main resources. Testing related stuff can be placed in test folder. And then test resources related to the test, if you have any images and all, you can maintain them here. Then this is the JRE system library, which is the Java environment which we are working on, which we are using for this particular project. Then here we have src main and rest of the things, no need to worry. And then this one is pom.xml. So this pom.xml does not contain anything as of now. Okay, I will try to open it in some other editor. Just hold on. It will look colorful. Okay. Open with XML editor, I have to say. See, it will look colorful. So here there is the project, and POM always has the definition for the project. So Maven comes from Apache company. So they are the owners of Maven, Apache. So here model version is there, whatever model version Maven is using. Then group ID, I told mypack, right? So it has been listed. And then artifact ID is the project name and version is the has been given. Now we will add the dependencies. Okay, now I will add the dependencies. Let me show. See, control space, if you click, it will give the dependencies tag. I will hit enter. So for my Spring framework, it will need, we need to know which dependencies we need to add. It will need context core. I will put a comment here. This is how you put a comment in XML file. It will need Spring core, Spring context, and what else? Beans, I think. Let me check once. So Spring core is there. Spring context is there. I think this two should be good enough. Okay. Yeah, those two should be good enough. So we need these two Spring core. I will add the word Spring. Spring core dependency is required. And the Spring context dependency is required for any Spring project to work. So we will add these two from a repository. Okay, here I told Maven repository, right? Here I told this is a Maven repository. So where is this Maven repository? I will show you. There is one Maven repository at Maven link, repository link. Just Google, okay? If you can just Google, then you can easily find it. It is called as MVN repository, or you can just directly Google it. So I will use the Google option, Maven repository. If I Google this, the first link that you are going to get is itself the Maven repository link. I will click on that. So this is the Maven repository. Okay. So I have to fetch here from this repository which are the things, Spring Core and Spring Context. Okay, I will do that. Spring Core, I will click search. The first one I will use. So if you see here, there are multiple versions of it. I will go to the first link here, click on the first link, and I will scroll down. This is the part which specifies the dependencies. I will copy it and I will place it under the dependencies. So this is what, this is a Spring Core dependency from the Maven repository. So again, let me add another dependency of Spring Context. So I will show you. Go back. I will search here Spring Context. So here I have Spring Context. I'll click on search. And then Spring Context is here. So if I scroll down, there are multiple versions. I will choose the latest version. Scroll down, here is the dependency part. I will copy this and place it below whatever I have copied. I will just do formatting, Control Shift F. Control Shift F. Tab I put. So this is what are my two dependencies. Spring Core, you should know which dependency you need for which project, okay? That you will get to know with the experience. And once I did that, what happened, you know? So here, if you click, it will link to the editor. It will point to that particular project. So here, a folder was not there. Okay, it creates a particular Maven dependencies. Under that, it will add all these files that are required. Okay, so fine. That was the jar files. Ultimately, we need these jar files. It has either from Maven dependencies, or you can add using the option called as build path, configure build path. Either this or the other way. You can use add external jars. You need to download those one by one jars. Then this also is the same way. Ultimately, we need those jar files. Okay, this is how you create a Maven project, and this is how you have to add the dependencies in form.xml. Rest of the things remain the same. So I will just paste the MVN repository link. So do you guys want to try that MEM repository? You can just click on that link. You can look for Spring Core and Spring Context. Are you people able to follow Maven? Yes, no, please.
Yeah.
Okay. Lot of crackers are bursting for Diwali here. So this is one of the things that I wanted to tell about the Maven. Now I will show you the annotation way of doing the things. The same way, it will be the code will remain the same. Okay, no change in the code. I will create a class here. I will call this class as student, whatever Pojo, any Pojo will do. And I have given the name as student. And for Pojo is nothing, plain old Java object again. And I will just repeat the same code what I did last. So private string name I did, and then private int id, and I will generate the getters and setters. This is what is my Pojo. Source, getters and setters. I will select all, both I want. It will generate the getters and setters for me. I will save it. Then I will create a test file here. Okay. So this will be my test file. Okay. Test file. And I will click on public static void main and click finish. And here what I'm going to do is I will just create a student without Spring Framework. I will show you s equal to new student. Right? This is the without Spring Framework normal way. S dot set name. I have to first set the name, then I can display something. Set name Raghu. Okay. And then I will try to display the name. System.out.println s dot get name. Then what will it print, both of you? So I have a student class. I'm setting the name as Raghu. I'm trying to get that particular name.
Raghu.
Raghu. Yeah. Okay. This is the normal way of Java programming, right? So, but what my Spring Framework says, I will not do this, right? We will create, Spring Framework will create an object for me. So what are the two ways that I told here? Here, yeah. So I created the project using this second option this time. Okay, and I added the dependencies Spring Core and Spring Context in pom.xml. Now we will try these both methods. Okay, first I will show annotations way. I will show you the annotations. So if you want to create an object using the annotations way, just make the class, okay, class as at component. Component, see, it is from Spring Framework component. Okay, and we have to also give a package name. It cannot be in default package. Let's move it to a new package. What I can do is I will go to line number 1 here. Always package will be in line number 1. Give a package name, package com dot my pack and semicolon. So I will ask it to move. So move student to this particular package. So it is in this particular package. I will paste test also here. I'll copy and paste it. Okay. So fine. I made this class as component. Component means create object. It will be ready made. An object will already be created. Ready object. Ready object is created. Is already created by Spring Framework. Already created by Spring Framework. It is ready made. How do we use it? I will tell you. And you have to mention where and all which are the components that it has to scan. So I will just copy this particular name. Okay. So there's another annotation which is component scan, for which and all you have to component scan. And I will just mention com. Anything that starts with com, go for that and go on creating them as objects. So object will already be created now. So now onwards, everything in the language of annotations. Many annotations we will be learning. See, whenever you want to create an object, mention that class itself as at component. So where and all it has to create the objects, it has to scan. So supposing you have another employee with at component, then it will scan the entire com Com means anything that starts with com package. Okay, components can give the package name. Now come to this particular, we need to another file is required which is called as configuration file. Okay, we need to create another file called as student config. You can give any name according to your meanings. So student config is there. This we need to call it as at configuration. Configuration. Okay. So this will be the configuration file. So now in my test file, test class, you will have to use that particular object. How you can use this? We have to create an context. Okay, context has to be created. How do you create a context? Which is by creating a new annotation configuration that I will just tell you the name. Annotation configuration annotation. Just a minute. Annotation config application context. Yeah. So since we are using annotations here, annotation config application context. This is the class which we need to use in order to create the object. Okay, in order to get the object from the Spring Core. So here we have to pass the configuration file. This file we need to pass here. Student.config. From this particular class, create an object for me. Okay. So here it returns an object of the type. I select this expression. Control Shift L. I will create Alt Shift Control Shift L. No, what is that? Alt Shift L. I want to create a local variable with the name called as context. Context. Okay. So I will repeat the steps. No need to worry. These are new things for you. So I want to use the annotations. So now I have annotated the student class with add component. Component scan. I created a configuration file with add configuration, and a test file is created just to test whether the object is getting created or not. Okay. So for that we need to use a configuration file and we need to create an object of the context. Okay. So using this particular context, I can get the student object. It will be ready, but we have to extract that particular thing. S equal to, how do you get the student, This is context dot get bean is there. Always bean means what? Object, right? So get me the bean for which class I need to give. So for student dot class. And I think I have to cast it. No need. Okay. So get me the bean. Bean means always get me the object. And then the next step is I will use setter method. See, now I am able to see the set name. Set name. I will use this time Nikhil. Okay. And I will try to get the name. System.out.println. S dot name is. I will just print the message. Name. S dot get name. Okay. So what I did, I created a student Pojo. For the Pojo, I want the object. So add component, and if you have multiple components, then you have to use this particular annotation to scan the different packages. And we need to create these are the different steps. Okay, remember these steps. These are the must. We need to have a configuration file with an annotation called as add configuration. And if you have a test file, then we need to get the context first. Okay, context how we have to get. These are the standard classes of our Spring framework for using the annotation framework, annotation config application context, give the configuration file, then get the bean out of it using get bean, then do whatever you want using the object. Now if you try to print, you must be able to see Nikhil. Just see. Let's see. Hopefully no errors. Some error is there. Okay, we will check this out. Of the type, so there is some problem of the student. Okay, fine. I think I have to add one small dependency. I was thinking of it. This is the dependency. This below dependency add configuration at bean. We need this dependency. So let me add this dependency. That is in form.xml. Some dependency is missing. That is the reason we ended up in an error. We will check out. Let's see. Add this dependency. Added. See again, one more dependency will be getting added here. Okay. Let me just clean the project. It will just do a clean of the project. Refresh the project. Then we will try to execute. I think I have to cast it here. I will just check. Hold on. Okay, just hold on. I think I have to cast it here at this point. UENT student. I have to cast it, and then one more thing what I have to do is number 10. It is able to find the thing. Okay, package name, probably I have to use the package name. Just copy the package name. Okay. Let's see. Not this one. Form dot, what is it? Form dot my pack dot student dot class. Student student dot class. Okay. So let's see this time. Hopefully you must be able to get. Not able to. Okay. Many a time we will be able to seeing this Dween definition. My label, it is saying some configuration I'm missing. Just hold on, I will just check. I have the same dependencies here. Spring core, spring context sealed. And I have created application context get bean, set message, get message I have done. Okay, configuration file I have created this one. And at bean I'm using here. Okay, that should not be a problem. But then this also should work fine. At configuration employee get bean. I think everything should be fine. Let's just check. Component at configuration. I have to give at configuration at yeah, I have to use it here. Sorry, I have to use component only for the Pojo class, whereas for the configuration I have to use component scan. Yes. Yeah, correct. So I will repeat. Are you able to follow? So what I did is first I created, what are these red things? I don't know. Some highlighting is being done. So here I have a student Pojo annotated with at component. So what this, and then there is a configuration file where the components are there. It will say this is a component, right? So scan for the component in com. Anything that starts with com, no, like this com.mypack, you go to all the classes. Wherever you find this add component, go on creating the object for all those in your Spring Core. Okay. And in the test file, what happens? I have created a context. Context is required. Okay. Context means create an object for this particular. Go to this configuration file, and it will have all the objects in its context. Out of those objects, get me the student class. Then after that, once I get the object, things are very easy. I can get the name, I can set the name. Okay, is this clear? Annotation way of doing the things. Okay, so here if I have to tell you what I did, I used the component, add component I used. Add component, it creates the object, and at another thing was at component scan. Component scan. For scanning all the packages, we need to give the package name inside the double quote. This is another annotation. Clear? Able to follow? Are you guys fine? Any doubts? Raghu and Nikhil. Okay, Nikhil.
No.
Okay, able to follow? So first we need to add the dependencies in pom.xml, for which and all we need. Okay, I don't think the other one was required. Let me just check. I did the one dependency, right? I don't think that is required. Dependency is not required according to me. Okay, we will test this. Yeah, that is not required. Okay, so this is how you have to do the annotation way of doing the things. So supposing you want to do the XML way of doing the things, then classes will remain the same. Student config, this student config will not have any annotation now. We will take out all the annotation. Instead of that, there is an XML file which we have to use, which is nothing but something like this. Okay, I will show this. This is a standard XML file. You have to paste it in src main Java. Name can be anything. Name can be any name, not only I will give student here this time. Student.xml. And what does the student.xml contain? I will just show it to you. Open with the XML editor. So again we are making a bean. Bean is nothing but an object with this particular ID using this particular class, and I will create that particular class. Okay, don't worry. We will create it in one package called as com.mypack1 this time. Okay, so we will create a student using another package, and I will put the name as Yogita this time, and I will comment this line. Hold on, that no confusion will be there. Okay, I'm just putting the name called as Yogita. Okay, so now what I will do, I will show this XML configuration way. So new package I have to create, because I want to create the student Pojo. New, new package is nothing but I have copied the name com.mypack1. It will have the XML configuration way. So I will copy the same student.info student class I copied, and test I will use. Okay, this time I will not use this student config. It is annotation way of doing anything. I don't need it because I have the configuration of XML file. Let me close all these things. Now what I will do, I will go to student class. So I will not use annotation because my bean is created in XML file. So I don't need this annotation. Rest of the things, let it remain the same. And uh, test.java, this time I will just give it the name as mypack1. Okay, and there is, instead of application context, we have to use class, what is that name, class path class path class, I forget that, just hold on. Class path x, and what is that, class path, class path XML application context. Okay, this is the file name. Okay, class path application context, XML application context. Okay, we need to use this, and we need to provide the name of the XML file. So whatever XML file we are using here, student.xml, the same file name we have to provide it. Control A, Control C, and we have to pass it. And this time my uh, XML will be used for the context. Okay, application context. So I will change this other side. I will just make the changes accordingly. Application context, I will make it. It is on top of all the classes. Import it, import it. Okay. So, and then rest of the things will remain the same. Just that I have used an XML file instead of the annotation. And in the XML file, what I have is, I have a bean with the ID called as student bean, and rest of the things. I am setting a property here called as Yogita. So we must be able to see Yogita. If I say get name, I will break out these things. Okay, and I will just use get name here. I have taken out the Nikhil part. If I use Yogita, is getting printed because it is reading this particular file. Raghuram, if I do Raghuram, and if I try to test, it will read the XML file, then set the property of the name Raghuram. Clear? So this is one good thing about our Spring Framework. The same property equal to, we are setting this property of an instance variable. Okay, this we call it as setter injection. Supposing I want to use a constructor and do this, then this is the line of code for constructor injection. Injection means initialization of the variables. Okay, injection is nothing but, don't get confusion here, initialization of the variables. Just give me 5 more minutes, I'll just complete this off. Okay, so injection means initialize the variables, instance variables. Either it can be done using the setters and getters, that is called as setter injection, or you can do it with the constructor, and that we call it as constructor arg and constructor injection. Okay, this is the value that I'm passing, and int is the variable for id. So id is of the type int, right? So it will give the value for int. But for this I need to have a constructor. I will use the constructor here. Source, generate constructor using fields. I need both of them. No, I don't need name. I'm setting using setter injection. ID only I'm setting using the constructor injection. So I will generate the constructor here. See, I have generated. Super means let it be. It will just initialize the object class, and it has got the constructor ready-made for me. I will do a control S. Let me try to print the ID. ID is ID is from constructor injection. ID is yes dot get ID. Okay. So I must be able to see Raghuram from setter injection, and 10 from constructor injection. So there you go. Okay. Another thing that you can say me that why I need two things. I want to set the property using setter injection. Then use the same and comment out this particular thing. I will use comments. Okay. And I can always use ID here and the value for it is 20. Okay, I want to initialize the ID using setter injection. Then use that. So this time if I execute, I will get the same output. Now I have to remove the constructor here, otherwise it will get confusion. I have to remove the constructor. Then there you go, Raghuram and 20. Okay. So if you want to say, I want to do both the things using constructor injection, then you copy the same thing, just give the type of it. For example, string, no? Name is string. Then we can always give the type as data type as string, give the value. Okay, let me show that part. I will comment out this one. But we need a we'll comment out both the properties. Okay. I did not comment. Okay, I will use this. Just hold on. Now I want to initialize both the properties. Then what you have to do is, first of all, you need to have a constructor here, and you need to have this dot both the names, both the IDs and the name you want to initialize. Provide both of them here. String name. Okay. So the student should have first of all the constructor, and then constructor arg should be there using, and we need to pass here whatever value we want. And this is of the type string. Okay. Then it should work perfectly fine.